Hi, this is Arlo Leach, the developer of BandHelper and Setlist Maker. I just finished a major update of both products, and I'd like to show you the most significant new features. I'm going to be showing BandHelper in this video, but if you use Setlist Maker, all the new features are the same, except the list filters, which aren't available in Setlist Maker. And the version numbers are a little different between the products. So if you use BandHelper for iOS, this is version 3.2. Setlist Maker for iOS is version 5.2. And if you use either product on Android, this is version 2.2. So let's get started. The first feature we'll look at is the ability to display lyrics or documents in two columns. We need to edit a layout to do this. So we're going to go to the Big Lyrics layout and click Edit Layout. Then we're going to select the document viewer and click its Options button in the top right corner. And here we'll see a new option to set the content to either one column or two columns. We'll select two columns, and then we'll just back up out of this layout and go back to a set list. View the set list with that layout. And now we see our lyrics split into two columns. And they scroll continuously, so the bottom of the left column is the same as the top of the right column at all times. This same feature works for documents. And again, the document scrolls continuously. Usually with documents, though, you want to use this feature to see 2 pages at a time. And that works best if you click the Document Tools button and select Fit to Height. And then the app will size the document viewer to the height of one page of the document, so you have 2 pages side by side. And in this layout, you can use the page functions either by tapping the top and bottom hotspots or using a foot switch to neatly page through a multi-page document. Now let's look at another feature related to both lyrics and documents, and that is the ability to add markers to your lyrics or documents. Let's start with this song, and let's make the lyrics a little smaller so we can see at least one verse at a time. Then we're going to edit the song and scroll down to the lyrics field. And I'm going to click in the first line of lyrics and click the new marker button, which is at the right end of the formatting toolbar. I'll get a prompt to enter a name for the marker, and I'll enter verse 1. Then I'll go to the next verse, verse 2. And notice I don't have to click right at the beginning of the line. I can click anywhere in the line, and the app will add the marker at the beginning of that line. Okay, we have a lot of verses here, so I'm going to go more quickly adding these markers. And you'll see how these names are used in a moment. One more here. Okay, so I'll save the song, and now I see my marker symbols in the lyrics. But what I can do now is use any page function, like the hotspots or a foot switch, and when I click the next page function, instead of scrolling down by one screenful, it just jumps to the next marker. So I can quickly navigate through the sections of my song if I define them ahead of time. It works in reverse as well. I'm paging up now. You can also add markers to documents, but this works a little differently. Let's show a document. And what we need to do now is scroll to the position where we want to add a marker. Just drag your finger to manually scroll. Then click the Document Tools button and click Add a Marker. You'll be prompted for a name again, so let's enter verse 1. And you see the marker gets added to the left margin. We'll scroll down, add another one on the second verse. And another for the third verse. And now I can use the page functions to jump to the markers. I'm just tapping the bottom hotspot here to jump from one marker to the next, and in reverse. So this is really good for multi-page documents, especially sheet music where you might have repeats or a coda section. If you define them in advance, then you can quickly jump to them. If you want to rename a marker after adding it, you can just click it and then you'll see an option to rename or delete the marker. And the lyrics markers are similar. If we go back to this song, I can click that little marker symbol. It's kind of hard to hit it because it's small, but I'll see a prompt to rename or delete that marker. And just like any text editing, I can also just place the cursor in front of it and hit the delete key to delete it from the lyrics. Now these markers are really powerful with the addition of a new layout item that's available. I'm going to go back and edit this split view layout. And select the song list and click the options button at the top right corner of the song list. And I'm going to turn on this new item called document markers. Now I can go back and view my set list with this split view layout. And every time I select a song, underneath that song in the list, I see all the markers that I've added with the names that I entered. So now it's really easy to jump from one marker to another based on the names. Documents works the same way. And also, if I manually scroll the document or the lyrics, the highlighted marker changes to match. So even if I'm not using these markers to navigate the document, I can use them to see where I am in the document. I added the marker buttons to the song list. I could also add it to the main part of the layout. We have one more lyrics-related feature, and this is something that's often been requested over the years, and this is the ability to highlight a line of lyrics to show the singer where they are in the song. All I need to do to highlight a line of lyrics is double-click in the left half of the line, and it will get a blue background and jump to the center of the lyrics viewer. Double-click the next line and it jumps to the center. This is not super useful on its own, but in conjunction with an automation track, you can build your own karaoke-style display. I'm going to use the automation button here to start recording an automation track, and then I'm going to jump to a line of lyrics, and the next line, and the next line. Then I'll stop recording. And now if I edit this automation track, I can see that my lyric highlights are recorded here with their times. And I can fine-tune the timing if I want to. And now when I play back this automation track, the lyrics will highlight on their own. And obviously I'd want to be doing this in sync with a backing track so the lyrics are changing relative to the music. We've been in and out of the layout editor a few times here, but let's go back and see some other new layout capabilities. First, let's take the markers back out of this list. They do take up some space in the song list. And by the way, a lot of people ask how to change the size of the song titles in their song list. That's right here. Let's just bump those down a little bit. And now let's go to the Edit Details page. And previously we had two lists on this page, Song Selection Actions and Song Completion Actions. And this is combined into one list now with some additional actions and also some new ways to trigger them. First of all, we can now assign separate actions to the song selection and the song second selection. It used to be all or nothing, but now we can split up our actions between these two triggers. So I'm going to assign the send MIDI action to the song selection, and I'm going to assign the recording start-stop action to the song second selection. So now if I go view my layout, I select the song once and the MIDI gets sent, and I select it again and the recording starts playing. And so I can set up some actions that fire when I first view the song, but then I might need a moment to look at the song and get ready to start playing, and then when I'm ready to start playing, I just select it again and I can fire the second set of actions. That isn't too different from what the app could do before, but there are also some completely new triggers that I can assign actions to, and these are the 2-fingered tap and 3-fingered tap triggers. And by assigning actions to these triggers, I can trigger functions without even adding any new buttons to the layout, so it's very space efficient and quick because I don't have to worry about hitting a small button on the screen. This is especially useful in the big lyrics layout where I'm showing the song list between songs and then hiding it to have maximum space for my lyrics. Let's edit the layout actions for that layout, and in addition to song list hide being assigned to the song selection by default, I'm also going to select song list show hide and assign it to the 2-fingered tap action. So now let's go back and view the layout. And the song list appears by default. I select a song and it hides. But now if I want to see it again, instead of hunting for the song list button, I can just Tap anywhere on the screen with 2 fingers, and the song list appears. I can tap again to dismiss it. So it's a great way to maximize your screen space for lyrics, but still have that song list very easily available. Something else that will help edit layouts is more control over the layering of the items in the layout editor, especially when you're building a layout like this where the song list appears over other things. It can be really hard to select the things you want in the layout editor to rearrange them. Well, now when you click the document viewer or the song list item in the layout editor and click its options button, there's a button Move to Back. And this just pushes the item behind all the others, so then you can select another layer that might have been under it. I'm going to push the document viewer back behind the song list and select the song list. So I can edit that if I want, and now I can push the song list back as well. And similarly, sometimes you want to place an item on top of another large item, especially the document viewer, and you used to need an empty area of the layout to click to add a new item. That could be hard if your document viewer filled the whole screen or most of the screen. So now if you select the document viewer and click its options button, you'll see the option Add Overlapping Item. And if you click that, the pop-up menu appears to add a new item, just as if you had clicked an empty part of the layout. So let's select an automation button here, and we can place it on top of our document viewer. Layouts become really powerful when you can layer things on top of each other like this. You can really make the most of your screen space, so I encourage you to try this out. Now let me show you kind of a minor change, but something you might not notice if I didn't point it out to you. You might know that in your layouts you can add these items called multiple document buttons, multiple recording buttons, or multiple MIDI presets. These are automatic groups of buttons that appear in your layout so that you can access the individual items attached to a song. And you can resize them in your layout to make them big enough to see all your items. Well, now you don't have to resize them quite as big, because if there are more items than will fit in the area that you've given, you can simply scroll within that list to see the additional items. So here's a song with 4 recordings. There's only room to see 3 at a time, but I can just scroll down with my fingers to see all the contents. Another quick feature here relates to the Chord Pro formatting. This is when you place chords in your lyrics surrounded by square brackets, and the app automatically moves the chords to the previous line like this. Well, there's 2 changes here. The first is that you can now put any text inside the square brackets, not just chords, and the app will position them the same way. So you can see here in the second to last verse, I wrote a direction stop at the beginning of the verse. And the other change is that I can now click the Document Tools button, and I can select Hide Bracketed Chords, and everything in brackets just goes away. So if I want to see the lyrics, or if somebody else in the band wants to see just the lyrics and not be bothered with the chords, they can switch this off. This setting is saved, and so if you go to a different song and come back again, the chords will still be hidden. So don't forget, your chords haven't been deleted. Just click that Document Tools button, and now the option will say Show Bracketed Chords, and you can bring them back. And one more little feature while we're in the setlist view is that if you view a break and you have a break length defined, a countdown timer will appear as soon as you select the break, and if it gets to 0, it'll turn red and start counting backwards. So if you have bandmates who like to wander off and take really long breaks, hopefully having this running on stage will keep everybody on target. This is turned on by default for breaks. You can also run it for pauses. You can turn it on or off for either breaks or pauses on the Settings Appearance page. Let's go back to the songs list now and edit a song. My apps have never had any kind of lyric import functionality for copyright reasons, but if you're editing a song now, you can scroll down by the lyrics field, and there's a button to search the web for lyrics. And then there's another button to search for song facts. So if you're looking for interesting tidbits about a song to help introduce it, that should help there. These buttons just simply perform a web search for the title and artist that you've entered, plus the word lyrics or the phrase song facts. Just a little convenience to help you as you prepare your songs. Now, one of the biggest new features is also on the Song Edit page. And this is a new way to copy songs. It's called a smart copy. A smart copy is a new copy of a song that's linked to the original and inherits information from the original unless you override it. I'll show you how this works. I'm going to click the copy button at the bottom of the screen and select Smart Copy. And you'll see that now all the fields in the song are faded out. And this indicates that they're now pulling this data from the original song. But if I edit any of the fields I edited now become active, to show that this is unique information that I've added to the smart copy. You might use this, for example, if you want to play a song with the capo and you want to set up a different key and chords to reflect what you're seeing with your capo on, while still keeping the original copy of the song for everybody else. So I'm going to enter a notation here in the capo custom field, change the key, and transpose the chords to the key that I'm going to play with my capo on. And so now these are the only fields that are highlighted in the smart copy. Everything else is coming from the original. Once I add this song, I look at the song list and I see my original song, and then under it, indented, is my smart copy. If I make an edit in the original, you'll see that that edit carries down to the smart copy. But of course, edits I make in the smart copy don't affect the original. Oh, and by default, even the title of a smart copy comes from the original. But if it gets too confusing to have smart copies with the same names, you can always enter a different name for the smart copy. So let me change this one to alternative key, just to make it easier to tell them apart. Now, it's really convenient to add smart copies while you're viewing a set list. If you're in a rehearsal and viewing your set list and you realize you want to make some custom changes to a song without changing the original, you can click the Edit button in the bottom toolbar, then scroll to the bottom for the Smart Copy button, and then just as before, you can just edit the fields that you want to override from the original. This time let's do the capo on the 5th fret, which gives us the G chord shapes, and we'll transpose the chords down to G. And this is convenient to add smart copies from the set list because when I save, the song in my set list automatically gets replaced with the smart copy I just created. So now we're seeing the key of G version of the song. And when I go back to the song list, I'll see the new smart copy that I just added. By the way, if you delete a smart copy from the songs list, then this works in reverse, and any set lists that use the smart copy will automatically update to just use the original again. So now here I'll see that in my set list it's reverted back to the original version that's in C. So if you end up with a lot of smart copies that you don't need and you want to just clean them up, you won't destroy your set lists. Instead of deleting your smart copies, you can just hide them from your song list. At the top of the list, you can click the search button to open the list filters, and there's a new filter to hide smart copies. And all the list filters are now changed so that if you close the filters panel, the filters you set will still remain active. The search button will highlight in orange to remind you that you're filtering your list. To remove the filter, you can open the filter panel again and undo it, or you can just double-click the search button and all the filters will be reset to their defaults. These persistent filters are especially useful on a list that involves user assignments. If you want to see only items that are assigned to you, you can click the user filter and select yourself, and then the list will be filtered down. And again, this filter will persist now if you leave and come back. So you can essentially change your lists to only show your items. But if you clear the filters, you'll go back to the default, which is to see all the information in your account. Okay, well let's look at a couple new remote control actions. I have an iRig Blue Board with 4 buttons on it. I'm going to get that connected here. I'll switch over to the Blue Board app using the new dock in iOS 11 by swiping up from the bottom of the screen. Click the Blue Board app and connect, and then go back to BandHelper. And then I'll go to the Settings Remote Control page. And a commonly requested feature is the ability to scroll through a set list with a foot switch. So not just scrolling through your lyrics now, but scrolling through the list of songs. These are almost down at the bottom. And we have the new song list scroll up and song list scroll down actions. I'm going to assign those to the MIDI controller messages that my foot switch sends. Controller 80 and 81, the general purpose buttons. And then I'll go back and view a set list. And you can't see this in the screen demo, but now I'm pushing the 2 buttons on my foot switch. Some more new remote control actions involve MIDI. We've had for a while a next page or song remote control action, which means with a single button you can page through your lyrics, and then when you get to the end, go to the next song. Well, now we have a similar thing, which is next MIDI preset or song, or previous MIDI preset or song. And if I have multiple MIDI presets attached to a song and I line them up in the order I'm going to use them in a song, I can now use a single foot switch button to step through those and then jump to the next song when I get to the last preset. So let's assign those actions and then go back and view our set list again. This first song just has one preset, so if I press my foot switch button once, it'll select it. And then if I push it again, it'll go to the next song. The next song doesn't have any MIDI presets, so if I just push the foot switch button once, I go to the next song. And now we have a few presets, so I'm stepping through them, and then at the last one, I go to the next song. Pretty straightforward, and again, if you have your presets all set up in order, then you can do a lot with just one foot switch button. A couple more MIDI capabilities here. A lot of times people want to have a couple MIDI presets that they use throughout their show, not just with a specific song. So for example, they might want a MIDI preset that cuts the reverb off their microphone, so when they make announcements or introductions between songs, they're doing it with the dry sound. Previously, you would have to assign that MIDI preset to every single song. Now you can assign presets to a layout. So I'm going to edit this layout, go to Edit Details, and down at the bottom, I see an option to select MIDI presets. And these are for general MIDI presets that I want to access from any song. I'll select these three. And go back and view the set list. And now these three presets appear as if they're attached to every song. They're not really, but I see them in the same place I would see presets that are attached to the songs. These are called layout MIDI presets, and I can access them with the buttons on the screen or with the foot switch, just like with the song-specific preset. And if needed, I also have new remote control actions to trigger them, so I can map a specific foot switch button to a specific preset. That would be really useful for that reverb off example. And I can also assign the new layout actions to trigger these presets. So like with a 2-finger tap or a 3-finger tap, I could trigger one of these layout presets. One more MIDI function is the ability to set up two MIDI presets that work together as a pair, usually for an on-off function. So if I have a guitar processor and I have an overdrive effect that I want to apply on top of other effects, and I want to switch that on and off, I can make a MIDI preset to turn it on and a MIDI preset to turn it off. Let's start with overdrive on. I'm going to enter control change, just making up numbers here, but controller number 1 with the value of 1. And then we'll make a second preset called overdrive off. Same controller number, but now a value of 0. And by the way, this is also new, the ability to enter control changes directly with numbers rather than using the raw MIDI. So you don't have to figure out the hex code anymore if you just want to send any custom control change. Now I'll go back to my overdrive on, the first preset, and at the bottom I see an option to pair with a preset, and I'll select overdrive off. So now these two presets are linked together. And I'll go back and edit my layout, and I'll just add the first one, the overdrive on preset. So now this overdrive on is going to appear with every song that I view with this layout. And when I select that preset the first time, it's going to send the overdrive on message, and the highlight is going to stay on. And then if I select that preset a second time, it's going to send the off message. If we look in the MIDI status window, we can see that first it sent value 1 and then it sent value 0. And I can just go back and forth toggling between these two states, or alternating between these two presets. So this is saving space on your screen by not having to add two presets, and saving your foot switch buttons to use for different functions, because now you can access two messages from the same button. We just covered a lot of territory here. Thanks for watching. I put a lot of work into adding these features, and so I hope people find them and can use them. There's even more in this update, and you can get all the details in the release notes. So go to the BandHelper website or the Setlist Maker website and go to the support section and click release notes, and if you can read those all, I will be very impressed. Thanks again for watching, and let me know if you have questions.